Coming up this week, I'm going to give you an inside tour, a sneak peek, a closer look at some of our equipment here in the Roastery on this edition of Live from the Roastery. All right, so let's talk about roasting. We talk a lot about small batch roasting or micro roasting, artisanal roasted coffee, and it sounds really nice. There's a lot of buzzwords, but we wanted to show you that we really have that at the core of our mission here at SPoT Coffee. So it really starts with our equipment and how that kind of informs our philosophy on coffee. We roast every batch of coffee in super small quantities. We roast about 30 pounds at a time, and we roast it on this drum roaster. I say a drum roaster because the oven itself is a combination of conductive and convective heat. So we have a heat source, we also have some perforated areas where a lot of airflow can come through. And Zach, our production roaster, can control all of those variables. So when the coffee's in that chamber and rotating in our drum roaster, it's really heating evenly and all those chemical compounds can start to happen during the cooking or the roasting process. All right, so we talked a little bit about the equipment, but before we even get rolling, right, we need to heat everything up. It's just like cooking at home. You want to get a lot of energy going. So before we even start to batch out our coffee, we're going to turn that big old oven on. We're going to get a lot of heat flowing in there. We're going to take some accurate temperature readings, some humidity readings of inside and outside, just so we know what adjustments we have to make before we actually put the coffee in. And this is a little close-up of our batched out coffee. This is a batch that's awaiting to be cooked or waiting to go into the roaster. And you'll notice it's green. Green is the raw product of coffee. This is green coffee. This is how it's shipped to us before it's been cooked. So all coffee, depending on the origin, is going to be a certain shade of green, and then we batch it out here before we throw it in there. So a lot of times when we're roasting coffee, right, we're looking for a lot of those variables. How much heat do we add? How much heat do we need to take away? Do we need to add some airflow? Is it really rainy that day? Do we need to make any adjustments before we start cooking? So Zach really has to be on his toes and manually make those adjustments as the coffee's cooking. And you can actually see in that sight glass, that's the actual window into the drum, so we can notice all those color changes. It starts green, it moves to yellow, then a light brown, and then darker and darker as the roast progresses. So we're at the end of a batch right now. We're into what we're called the first crack. That's that first sort of cellular audio cue that we listen for as roasters. It's just a metric that we use at a certain point in our roast to see if we need to make any other adjustments. So we're just about ready. The cooking process is about to be stopped. And when we do stop that cooking process, we want to make sure that we have this big thermal mass. We have to cool it down and make sure it doesn't keep cooking. We're not going to use water or anything like that. We're going to use what's called a cooling tray. And Zach's going to drop the coffee in there, and then we're going to suck all of that air down so that we can cool that coffee really quickly. So that's the cooling fan. Zach's going to pull out the coffee, see if we need to make any adjustments. He's looking for a pretty exact point. And there's the finished batch of coffee. All right, so from the roastery to our cafe, this is the finished product. This is available all the time in any one of our cafes. And again, this all starts with that philosophy of roasting that we have. Really good ingredients, small batch roasting techniques to highlight the natural flavors in the coffee. So whether you're getting a blend or a single origin, it's always going to be fresh and it's always going to taste great. So until next time, this is Dylan signing off live from the roastery.